Week 0 free picks on the way. Yes, the Blitz is back. I am Bryan Power, joined for a second straight season by my good friends and yours, Ross the Boss Benjamin, Ralph the Pen Michaels. We will be here every Saturday, now at 10 a.m. Eastern, directly in front of Last Call, getting you ready for the Saturday kickoffs and an interesting slate of games to go through today. Ross, I know you are ready for another profitable college football season. Great to see you again, buddy.
Hey, man, it's great to see both of you guys. You know, I really enjoyed doing the show last year. We had some good chemistry. We put out a lot of winners, and let's keep her rolling.
And Ralph, I've been talking to you here over the last week. I know you're excited as well. Week 0, just a handful of games, like I said, 8 to be precise, but I think there's some angles and some trends that we can uncover here to make the people some money.
It's funny. I would not be jonesing for North Dakota, Jacksonville State come November, but come August 29th, I am jonesing to watch the Fargo Dome tonight and welcome the Bison into the FBS.
So, all right, that is one of the games we'll get to, but let's, what do you say, guys? Let's get right into it, okay? They know who we are. We'll tell people what we've got cooking here on Saturday over the course of the next 45 or so minutes, but we got a game that's kicked off over in Ireland, the fantastic city of Dublin, over there as North Carolina and TCU. Ross, I'll go to you first on this one. I don't think there's a team that would have, at least maybe someone in the comment section can correct me with an example, but I don't think there's a team in recent memory I can think of that wished its season would have just ended after the first drive. The North Carolina last year, they moved right on down the field against TCU. People are saying, oh my God, Bill Belichick is about ready to take over the college game. And then they played the rest of that game and the rest of the season. North Carolina to me is a wild card entering Belichick's second season. Very interesting now. They were a much shorter underdog against TCU last year. They're now getting 8.5 against the Horned Frogs. Talk to us about early kickoff, because I know that is what everyone is thinking about right now.
Yeah, to be precise, TCU, after that opening drive by North Carolina, TCU outscored them 48-7 the rest of the game. So TCU walloped them 48-14, covering easily as a 3.5-point favorite. But one of the key performers in that game was TCU quarterback Josh Hoover, who has since transferred to defending national champion Indiana. Intriguing is that they brought in Harvard quarterback Jaden Craig. Well, he's now a TCU quarterback, but Craig put up some really good numbers the last 2 years at Harvard, throwing for 5,300 yards, 48 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He has 11 rushing touchdowns. He's got good size at 6'3", 225. But how does that translate going from FCS to FBS? And that's the big question. I think he'll be okay. And Sonny Dykes has a history of developing quarterbacks, and I think he'll do so here. They also have a new offensive coordinator in Gordon Samus, and he is formerly of UConn and the Huskies last year under Samus, 35.3 points scored per game. Speaking of new offensive coordinators, Ralph, Bobby Petrino is now the offensive coordinator at North Carolina. Not a very good head coach whatsoever, but terrific offensive coordinator. Can he work miracles here at North Carolina? Well, the truth of the matter is, anywhere that Petrino has gone, guys, in his first year with a new school as an offensive coordinator, that team, or those teams, I should say, have improved by 4 points or more scored per game. Well, you know, I think that's going to continue only because North Carolina was anemic offensively last year. They can't do any worse. They got to improve. But I don't know. I have to see it to believe it. I think TCU is a sleeper in the Big 12. I'm going to lay the points here with TCU minus the 8.5.
Ralph, you're counter. I'll be honest with you. I think the points are a little tempting here. People are acting like North Carolina shouldn't even bother showing up. Your thoughts here?
Well, you know, the number one that sticks out to me for North Carolina is how impressive their defense was, allowing 4.9 yards per play with such an anemic offense. It reminds me of the Browns. The defense, how many times did the offense go 3 and out and the defense had to come right back on the field? So for them to put up those type of season-long numbers with an offense that averaged under 20 points and under 300 yards per game is clearly something you have to pay attention to. Petrino will help the offense. As you said, Ross, it was an anemic offense, so there really is only one way they can go. But let's also remember why Petrino is an upgrade on the OC. The DC Belichick's son is on a leave of absence. The GM had all that crap happen last week where he's on a leave. Belichick has his girlfriend or wife helping coach some of the units. I mean, that's a joke. That really shows, basically the lack of integrity for this team. TCU's the only way to go. It got up to 9.5 and I threw it out. So, I lean TCU, but I also lean the under. By the way, Ross talked about the Harvard quarterback. This kid would have got drafted in the NFL draft this year had he not signed with TCU. So he has the dynamics, the size, the arm strength to be an NFL quarterback. That's the kind of quarterback this coach can work with for the Purple Horned Frogs. Lean TCU, also lean under. I do want to mention, guys, if you saw my TNA video this week, if you blindly played every under in a season opener, you've gone 164 and 203, 44.7% to the over or 55% to the under. Something to keep in mind of. I'm not telling you to not bet overs, but do consider that 55% of every season opener the last 4 years has gone under the total.
I'm going to throw it out here now. My parlay leg for the end of the show. I'm taking the points here. Nobody's betting UNC. I could look foolish in the first game of the year. I just want to take the points with Belichick. I think everyone's writing them off. This is a wild card team. TCU, I have high hopes for them in the Big 12, but a lot of points to be laying in the first game of the season. Guys, you saw it flash across the screen. What game do you want to hear about? Let us know in the live chat. You have any question on a specific game, we'll answer it for you here over the next 30-plus minutes. Let's move to the other or Power 4 game today. NC State and Virginia. Ralph, I'm going to come right back to you with this one. There was money that came in on Virginia initially. I think that was because this game was originally supposed to be played in Brazil. It's now being played in Charlottesville, Virginia. So now a home game for Virginia. Virginia hasn't had a lot of luck against NC State through the years. They haven't played a ton, which is weird for conference rivals. But Virginia was certainly a lucky team last year. I do have concerns about the offense at the skill positions. I think their offensive line is great. They should be able to push around NC State's defensive front. NC State, they're the only team in the ACC that returns its starting quarterback, coach, and both offensive and defensive coordinators. What are you seeing here for this one? I kind of was looking at the under here in the ACC opener.
Well, Brian, how about if I told you I have one play today in college football, and it is a 2% under 51.5 in this game. Now, I didn't use this as a free play because I just decided to give this out for free. So, guys, do not buy my college football play for today. When you have a conference home favorite in game one in the season opener, they're only 11 and 23 over under. That's 68% to the under, and it makes perfect sense. This is a team you're familiar with. This is a team you prepped for last year. You are trying to be conservative to not make mistakes early in the ACC season, and starting 1-0, there's a lot of pressure on you to get that done. When I look at Virginia last year, they started 5-0. They mauled a couple non-conference opponents, including 149 points in those 3 non-conference games. But at the end of the stretch, they finished with 9 straight unders, and those games covered under by 14 points per game. They lost a 3,000-yard passer, a 1,000-yard rusher, their top 4 receivers, 6 of their top 7 receivers, and all 5 offensive linemen return this year. I think they are going to start to run the ball under that strong O-line. Their D last year, solid in the ACC. I have them as the number 3 defense this year. NC State does have Bailey back, but they lost their top running back, their top 5 receivers, and their top 3 starting offensive linemen. Last year, the Wolfpack averaged 81 yards per game less away from home than they did in Raleigh. And that includes 941 yards they had early in the season at Wake and at Duke. Under 51.5 for me. You had to lay 112 juice when I played it. Actual client release under the total.
Wow. How about that? Just more reason to tune into this program every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Ralph dropping that free play. So glad to see here we're in alignment. There was a high-scoring game last year. It was actually, Ralph, on their way to that ACC championship game.
And remember, though, last year's game was a non-conference game. It did not matter. This was scheduled to be a non-conference game, but when the ACC switched to 9 conference games, this flopped over, and this is an actual ACC opener this year, where some people are still reporting it is a non-conference game. That is not true.
Yeah. But, Virginia, what I was going to say, Ralph, is that they experienced a lot of positive luck last year on the way to the ACC championship game. Interestingly enough, the one game where you can argue last year they were a little unlucky to lose was the one in Raleigh against NC State. They were outgained them by 100 total yards in that one. So revenge on the mind of the Who's. I think overall they're going to take a step back this year, but I don't know. I think they're going to be pretty fired up for this one, and it's a big break. Getting moved from Brazil to Charlottesville, obviously. Ross, we have a question about Florida State here.
Yeah.
Last year was high expectations, and it was a disaster. Really? I know we always find reasons to disagree with each other on the internet, but it's tough to disagree with that assessment of the Noles. Mike Norvell's on the hot seat. Florida State's a gigantic favorite today against New Mexico State. I generally stay away from these games. When you have a large spread like this, but does Norvell want to show something? Because to the question, obviously last year was such a disappointment. Do they just want to beat up on a weakling today?
I have really no strong opinion, nor do I have an opinion in general on this game. And I agree with you, Brian. These are the kind of games when the spread gets up there as high as it is. If I like the favorite, I look for a reason to use them in the first half, because then they usually call off the dogs in the second half. But I'm going to stop right there and say, there's 7 other games on the board that I think you could use more than this one. Even the USC game. By the way, Ralph, home favorites of 36.5 or greater playing in their season opener since 2013, 21-3 against the spread, 24-0 straight up with an average victory margin of over 51 points a game. So
did you watch my TNA video this week, Ross? Is that where you got that from?
Well, no, I didn't, but I'm sure I figured you were on top of that.
There's someone who watched it right there.
But, no.
And by the way, our Ross, they're 85% to the over. I think I have a couple less games than you, but I think they're 17-3 and 1 over under as well. So those big favorites do end up running up the score, even if they don't have to, even if they're pulling their starters out.
I think you used 35 or more, correct?
I think I used 37.5 or 38.
Oh, okay. So I used
a couple higher than you, so I had a couple less games maybe in that range.
Yeah, because of the 36.5 compared to your number. Yes.
With us talking about Ralph's video, by the way, it'd probably be a good time for me to remind all of you, go ahead and click subscribe if you already haven't done so. Down below, we appreciate your support here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. All 3 of us, Ralph, Ross, and myself, do a ton of content here on the YouTube channel. All free. Clicking subscribe. Make sure you get notified when it drops, and you'll be the first to see it. So we do appreciate your support. And while you're showing your support, smash that like button. You don't have to smash it. Zeno and I always talk about that on the morning wager. You can just press it if you'd like. But there you go. One more thing about Florida State, guys, because, this is one of those games where, again, I think your point's well taken, Ross. Just because it's one of 8 games doesn't mean you have to bet it. But, if people are looking at this game and looking for an angle, I was thinking, okay, do they come out in the first half and just look to make a statement right there? And maybe you look in the first half. One thing to note with Florida State, they do have SMU on deck. Norvell may not want to show everything on tape in a game that he can easily win. They may want to hold a little bit back, particularly in the second half against this dreadful New Mexico State team. And Ralph and Ross, here's a point I'd like to make, one more, and then we're going to go to USC San Jose State because I think it's a similar deal. The gap is widening, obviously, between the Power Four and the Group of Six with the transfer portal. So, once upon a time, maybe there was some value on these large underdogs. Not as much anymore. So let's bring it up. San Jose State, USC. This is another game. This is a game with an even larger spread. The Trojans are now out to minus 38.5. Looking at the WagerTalk odds screen. If you twisted my arm and made me play something here, I would probably look at USC's team total. I don't want to lay 38.5. That number, by the way, is on the move. Everything USC related, Ross, is taking money, it seems here. San Jose State's going to be bad this season, quite frankly. So the Trojans, again, it's a deal where how much do they want to show? How much of a statement do they want to make?
Yeah, and when do they call off the dogs, But they're so deep this year. Even if they go to their second team at halftime, I'm just being hypothetical, there's still a superior team than San Jose State by a long shot. I just mentioned that college football betting system since 2013. Again, folks, home favorites of minus 36.5 or greater playing in their season opener. They've gone 21-3 against the spread, 24-0 straight up. Again, take that for what it's worth, but you're never going to catch me laying 38.5, and you're never going to catch me taking an underdog that I think has no legitimate shot to win, and that's certainly the case here. So a game, again, I look elsewhere. There's a heck of a lot more better value on the board than the two games that we just mentioned.
What do you think, Ralph? Biggest spread on the board here with the Trojans? Anything you've got for us?
I would lean USC and I would lean the over. Brian, I'm going to give you a little pushback on your team total. San Jose State has Niamataolo from Navy, and so you think they're a rushing team. They were a top 10 passing team the last 2 years, and they're going to be that again. I think they can score 10 or 11 points on USC. So for me, I prefer to go full over and not USC team total over. And one thing I do want to share with you guys, when we talked about Florida State, a big favorite, they have SMU on deck. They may not want to show everything. USC has Fresno on deck. That doesn't matter. They're going to be a 24-point favorite. But people rarely look at huge dogs and say, who do they have on deck? Kenny Niamataolo and San Jose State could care less if they lose this game 100-0. They go to Eastern Michigan next Friday, so they fly across country. They're only a 4-point dog in a game they could win, and then they play Cal Poly. He's happy to lose this game 100-0, not get any starters hurt, and end up going 2-1 his first 3 games, and they're ecstatic in San Jose State. So it's as important to look what a bad team has in the offing if they have a winnable game, and not just what the favorite has. So again, I think this is a complete fade situation of San Jose State for that reason.
Boy, oh boy, Ralph, we're starting already. You're the only one I know that could say that a team is looking ahead to Eastern Michigan. And then also they'll throw this game away, and they don't care if they lose 100-0. Oh, well, yeah, they do care. Well,
Ross, back to the MAC days and Sun Belt days when Phil talked to a lot of coaches. I've had coaches, OCs, and DCs basically tell me that off the record. So this is not me making stuff up. This is them thinking about, every small college has to play a money game. They have to nowadays with the modern days. And coaches treat those money games differently. I'm not saying every coach doesn't care, but if you're down big in the first half, are you really going to risk your starters in the second half in that situation? That should have been the way I phrased it more than I basically
here's a fact. I like to tease you, Ralph.
Oh, good. Hey, that's what makes this show great, because we all have fun. We can call each other out. And Ross, if you were thinking that, there's probably 15% of our viewers that are saying the same thing. Is Ralph on drugs? Is he drinking Crown Royal at 10:20 a.m.? So
yeah, well,
like a hell of a time.
For the viewers out there, when Ralph drinks Crown Royal, he becomes an even more dangerous handicapper. The sports books close down when they know that.
Shout out to Jesse Schul. I see you, Jesse, in the chat. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to everyone for tuning in right now. I heard, we Eastern Michigan got referenced. Let's talk about them. Guess what? They're playing today against Sacramento State. This is a MAC game, Ross.
Yeah, baby.
I am a proud MAC graduate. Sacramento State, welcome to the Mid-American Conference. They're going to log a lot of travel miles here. I would not lay it with Eastern Michigan. Here's a trend for both of you. Eastern Michigan, over the last 9 seasons, like 70% of their games are decided by one score. So I'm not laying it with them here, even though I think Sacramento State. And the interesting thing, too, is all this travel, Ross, I think will catch up with Sacramento State as the season goes on, as they keep having to fly back to travel to Ohio and Michigan to play all these conference road games. So I don't want to – I like this Eastern Michigan squad. I think they're a dark horse and a weak MAC this year. But I like backing Creighton as a dog, not as a favorite. So and I have no interest in Sacramento State.
Yeah, you know what, Brian? I think the opposite here because hear me out on this. Sacramento State wasn't invited to the MAC until mid-February. Okay, they were prepared to play an FCS schedule. Secondly, they didn't have any. They couldn't get any transfers. Obviously, that would help the program at that point. And then, thirdly, I should say, they have a new head coach. And when you look at what they have coming back, they have very little coming back. So basically, in my eyes, this is an FCS roster. And Eastern Michigan, yeah, when was the last time we saw them as a 9.5-point favorite? I think we got to go back a ways, Ralph. I like Eastern Michigan here. I like Noah Kim, their quarterback. I like their head coach in Creighton. He brings a lot of stability to the program, continuity in the coaching staff. I like to lay the points here with Eastern Michigan against a Sacramento State team that's, for all intent and purposes, it's an FCS team.
Ralph,
I am looking up, Ross. I'm looking up your data on Eastern Michigan.
I was too.
As a favorite of 6 or more, they are 11-3 straight up, but only 4-10 against the spread.
Yeah, but when was the last time they were a 9.5 point? Look at the database.
They were a 21.5 point favorite against Long Island last year.
Against FBS, against an FBS team. I'm
State
sorry,
in
Rob.
2024, they were 13.5. They won 52-33. Yeah.
So it's rare, right?
Yeah.
So,
oh, yeah. No question. I concur. Just if you guys don't know, FBS teams are allowed 85 scholarships. FCS teams are allowed 63 scholarships. Finding out in February, not just wanting to take whatever was left over, I'm guessing they're short, likely 15 scholarships. Maybe he got a couple guys to sign in, but they are going to be a team that wears down at the end of the season. But I agree with Brian. I like Eastern Michigan. They should win by this margin, but I cannot bet them to win this margin because Creighton gets very conservative with a lead in the second half.
I think the exact stat was 79 of their last 109 games have been decided by one score. Eastern Michigan, that's insane. I know that, not a lot of people are watching, but I'm telling you, and this game's on ESPN Plus, if memory serves me correct. So it'll be wild. Probably history says it'll be close, at least at the end, although I think we're all in concurrent. Eastern Michigan starts the season 1-0. Here's a question from the chat. Memphis. We have someone who thinks the dog is live out in Las Vegas. Memphis is playing UNLV. This is an interesting G6 game here. Laying points with a bad defense is never a good move, is what Green363 has to say. Ross, I would concur with that. Any thoughts, though, on Memphis UNLV?
Yeah, I like UNLV here. I agree with the concern with the defense because it doesn't look like they drastically improved on that side of the ball. But look, this is a UNLV program that's lost 11 games in the last 3 seasons, guys, and 5 of those losses came against Boise State, who is no longer in the conference. And 3 of those losses to Boise State came in the Mountain West Conference Championship game. Here's the thing with Memphis. I think this is a team, in my opinion anyway, that will, when it approaches the midway point of the season, I'm going to look to use them more because the talent level's there, but the transition period, they have 70 new players this year. And their head coach, his name escapes me. He was at Southern Miss last year.
Charlie Huff.
Charlie Huff. previously with Marshall before that, but he's brought a ton of players over from Southern Miss. As a matter of fact, they have 11 starters combined on both sides of the ball that were Southern Miss transfers. And it's not like Southern Miss was world beaters last year in the Sun Belt. They finished 7-6, you know? So I just think early on, this Memphis team is going to be a little bit vulnerable. But I think as the season progresses, they're going to get better and better and better.
Ralph, Dan Mullen certainly made me look a little foolish at times last year, though. I was very happy that my alma mater, Ohio U, got him to the bowl game. What do we think here for Memphis UNLV?
Well, if you want to not know something about a team, then look at Memphis. I have them with 75 new players, the most. Ross said 70, so it's in that range.
Yeah.
The most in college football, the new coaching staff. We don't know who's going to be the quarterback. They have 2 quarterbacks. UNLV also has 2 quarterbacks. Originally, Mullen said he wasn't going to determine who it was, but he did announce that Arnold will start, but Orji will see. So, you know, what's the old saying? Well, if you have 2 quarterbacks playing, you don't have a starting quarterback, right? So we'll see if that's true or they really were both that good. At least the Browns don't have to worry about that, Brian, right?
Well,
The worst quarterback battle in the history of the NFL. And
Jackson Arnold, guys, this is his third school. He's lost the starting quarterback position at his previous 2 schools.
Maybe he's not very good. Maybe he's just not good.
You know?
I think that's what we need to say here. And although Alex Orji, when he was playing at Michigan, and they were running a 1950s style offense too. I remember that game
exactly.
against USC.
I think he might be the better option as we go on in the season.
You know, like I said, Memphis has so many question marks. This is one that I would not play either way, because you don't know what's going to happen. Now, I will say this. Remember, when Huff took over, he was at Marshall like 4 or 5 years or 6 years. He took over Ole Miss only 1 year. That Ole Miss team was a 1-win team, and they won, 7 games last year? So he has the turnaround ability into him. So
yeah, Southern Miss, Ralph.
I'm sorry, Southern Miss. Thank you, Ross.
Yeah.
So, you know, there always is that opportunity. You pay attention to those coaches that learned how to turn a program around, and you give them a little more leniency to make sure you're not going to fade them too early, that they can't do the same thing in back-to-back programs.
That was Ross's boy, Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss last year.
You guys really want to get my goat?
Let me
start.
That was a Freudian slip by Ralph, so we can bring it up.
I'll start the season out, folks, by saying this: Lane Kiffin is a scumbag. Okay. Tell me how you really feel, Ross. Well, that's how I feel. And it's nothing against LSU fans out there, because I wish you nothing but the best, but
we have some.
Despise your coach.
Bring in NFL players to play for him.
Yeah.
Ross, your thoughts on that? No.
Well, maybe Joe Montana will come back to play for Notre Dame, because he only had 4 years eligibility back in that day, and now they increased it to 5 years. So take him to court, Joe.
I'll tell you what, I am not a Kiffin fan. I'm not as bad as Ross is. I'm not liking him, but I give the guy credit. Finding a loophole like that, screw it. Everyone's pissed because they didn't find it. God bless him that he was able to find the loophole, did not break any rules, just found a wrinkle in the rule, and he'll going to benefit because of it.
But Ralph, this guy leaves a team last year that is bound for the college football playoffs.
I'm giving him credit for one thing and one thing alone, finding the loophole in that. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he finds a lot of loopholes, not only in that, but in several different topics and areas.
Oh,
anyway,
a hot yoga situation. All right. Anyway, let's we're halfway through the show, or a little bit more than halfway through the show. What do you say, guys? We tell the people what we've got going on at WagerTalk.com today. I started the day with some soccer that's already in action. I know you're very excited about the start of the Bundesliga season, Ross. But you can find me, wt.buzz/BP. And you can, there you're going to find right now on my 4% week 0 best bet. We ended last season on a 26-14 run in college football. So we're looking to start the season in similar fashion here in 2026. Guys, it's been a great summer. If you're just coming back right now for the football season, where have you been? We're up over 70 units going back to mid-April in all sports. Been a great baseball season. I know it's been a great baseball season for you too, Ralph. This morning when I went to WagerTalk.com, I looked at the leaderboard in Major League Baseball. I saw your name right next to mine, actually right above mine, as a matter of fact. So what do you got going here on this fine Saturday?
Well, I am not a fan of baseball. I don't mind watching my Guardians when they're winning and watching the playoffs, but I have found a real niche in doing no run first inning and yes run first inning. I've been doing that guide for 3 years. As I said, in football, I only have one play. I start the season off very conservatively. I gave it to you for free. If you did not see it, roll back to the ACC game for today. But I do have a 5% no run first inning, and this is rare. I had a 5% last night, and it won. First time ever I'd had back-to-back Nerfy 5%. Number one in MLB the last 30 days. Number two MLB for the season, and every play has been a first inning play, either a Nerfy or a Yerfy. 5% play in MLB action, and it does go this afternoon, wt.buzz/RM.
Ross, your college football record does not take a back seat to anyone. Please talk. How are you kicking the season off, and what do you have got going overall here?
Well, let's start what I have today, Brian. Thank you for that accolade. 4% top play in the North Carolina State-Virginia game today. My 4% top plays in college football. And again, I'm a little different than the rest of the guys at WagerTalk in this regard. I label 4% plays as top plays, and my 5% are best bets. So I don't use a ton of 4% plays. It's usually 2 or 3 star and 2 or 3%, excuse me, and 4 and 5% are for special occasions. Let's put it that way. I have one of those today, and my college football 4% top plays 19-5 with my last 24. By the way, college football 5% best bets 14-3 with my last 17. College football over the last 3 seasons, number one at WagerTalk, and I really can put a feather in my cap there because there are some outstanding, unbelievable, great handicappers over at WagerTalk. And enjoy it while it lasts. And it certainly has lasted for 3 years. 182 and 120, 60.3% in college football over the last 3 seasons, with over 155 units in net profit. Additionally, I had my best year out of the 3 last year when I went 53 and 31, 63.1%, and a net profit of 75.99 units in net profit. So a lot of good things to look forward to in college football, folks. You can get my college football package right now, college football annual package right now for $5.99, and that'll get you the entire regular season, college football conference championship games, bowl games, playoffs, right through the national championship game, and including all 5% best bets for just $5.99. In addition to, and I know I'm going a little long here, guys, and I apologize, but I need to get this in. We have a great special going on. Combination, myself and Ben Burns. Ben Burns is number 1 in the NFL over the last 3 seasons. I'm number 1 in college football over the last 3 seasons. So you can get Ben's NFL and my college football for $8.99. So for another $300, you're going to get Ben's NFL. And this has been a hot seller for good reason, folks. And over the last 3 seasons, between Ben's NFL and my college football, up over 300 units in net profit. If you're a $100 a unit player, you've made a net profit of over $30,000 the last 3 years with Ben's NFL and my college football. My personal link, wt.buzz/RB, wt.buzz/RB. Also, don't forget my solo videos each and every day over at WagerTalk TV. My direct link at WagerTalk TV, wt.buzz/Ross TV, wt.buzz/Ross TV. Doing a new show today, or a new show this year, I should say. Winner's Circle. I'm the host with fellow handicapper Jesse Schul of WagerTalk and Sean Higgs of picksandparleys.net.
All right, a lot of reasons as you head on over to WagerTalk.com here for Saturday and this weekend, and quite frankly, the entire football season. Stanford -3.5. Is this the right play against Hawaii? I'm going to throw this to Ralph, actually, right now. Zeno yesterday on the Morning Wager, of course, speaking of shows elsewhere here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, you can check out the Morning Wager every Monday through Friday. Me and Mark Zeno giving you 3 free plays, breaking down the daily board. But Zeno told me yesterday, Ralph, that Hawaii has not won a road game against a power conference opponent since '92. Is that in your database? Is that at your fingertips?
While Ross is speaking, I will look it up in the database.
Okay.
This game for me, Brian, I just think I lean Stanford. Stanford
Agreed.
is a team that has a big offensive line. They have 4.5 returning starters. They're going to try running the ball. And I just think Stanford, I like the under in this, and I lean Stanford. This is a game I didn't have a strong opinion on either way. But breaking down teams at the start of the season, I will much prefer a team that's going to run the ball over 50% of the time versus a team that's going to throw it, in my opinion, especially since they're at home versus Hawaii on the road. So lean Stanford, lean under, and I'll take a look if I can get that Hawaii data for you while Ross is speaking.
Yeah, one question, Ralph, before you go. Pronounce the Hawaii quarterback's last name for me so I don't butcher it.
I have no idea.
I don't think that's.
Hey, he's a sophomore this year. He's coming off a great season last year when considering he was a freshman. Hawaii did defeat Stanford last year in their season opener. They played and they won by 3 at home. They were outgained by, I believe, over 100 yards in that game. I'm not crazy about laying points with a team that's gone 6-28, I think, against FBS teams over the last 3 seasons. They have a new head coach in Tavita Pritchard. If you want to know who Tavita Pritchard is, he was the former backup quarterback to Andrew Luck at Stanford. And you want to know who Andrew Luck is? Not only a former star quarterback at Stanford, but he's now the current AD. When I see hires of this nature, it's like it's a safe pick for a head coach, and it's a comfortability pick for Andrew Luck. So I'm not overly impressed with that hire, but I don't see Stanford. Look, they're going to be one of the bottom 3 teams in the SEC, and they're an abysmal 14-43, as a matter of fact, versus FBS opponents in their since 2021, and I believe 6-28 since 2023. So they don't get it done very often here. Stanford 0-5 against the spread is a home favorite. Average line of -6.5. Just 3-2 straight up. 2 to 3 straight up wins came by exactly 1 point. Hawaii went 9-4 last year, and I really like the job that Timmy Chang, former Hawaii quarterback, has done since taking over the reins in Hawaii in a very tough spot where they don't get a lot of NIL money. They're still playing in a high school stadium, yet he's really made them extremely competitive. I'm going to take Hawaii here. They were up to 6 at one point. They're now down to 3.5. So I lost a little value when I gave this out on my solo video. I took Hawaii +6. I still like them at 3.5, just not as much because we lost some value, as I just alluded to. But that's my pick on this one.
All right. Ralph, I see you waving the pen. That must mean we have some good information here.
Brian, the college football database that I have only goes back to 2012. And on the road against non-conference opponents, Hawaii is 2-23. 1 win was against Massachusetts in 2017, and 1 win was against New Mexico State, but they were a 17-point favorite in 2021. So back to 2012, they only have 1 win, and that was as a 2-point dog at UMass in 2017 as an underdog.
Yeah. So to your FBS or your Power 5 theory, Brian,
it's probably right. Yes, it's probably right.
So.
Yeah, there we go. All right, we have 1 game left, I believe, that has slipped through the cracks, and we'll have hit all of them here on the show. We'll take your questions. By the way, Jesse Schul is in with the phonetics if you need them. Ross, if you could see that for the Hawaii quarterback there. Let's talk about Jacksonville State, North Dakota State. Last game we have not mentioned here. North Dakota State, similar to Sacramento State, making the move up to the FBS. Last we saw North Dakota State, they were unbeaten, #1 in the FCS level. They suffered a shocking playoff exit. I think they're a little more ready, and I think most people would concur with this relative to Sacramento State to make this jump up to the FBS level. As a matter of fact, Ralph, as I was perusing the odds to win the conference this morning, the final odds, they're neck and neck, North Dakota State, with UNLV to win the Mountain West in this their first year as an FBS member. That's pretty impressive. You usually don't see a new FBS team get that kind of respect in the market. Now, conversely, let's look at the spread for this game. The Bison, singular, opened as a double-digit favorite. They're now down to 6.5. In the last game, Ross, you mentioned talking about, we've lost a little bit of value. I gotta say, I don't think after this line move, I'm showing some value here on the favorite. Obviously, it's been one-way traffic, Ralph. Everyone betting the dog in this one. What do you agree with the line move, or is there now a little bit of value on the favorite?
Okay, we talked about Sacramento State earlier. This is night and day. This team was preparing to come to the FBS. They've been planning to come to it. They get transfers. Hell, how many quarterbacks did they have drafted the last decade? 5? They had a quarterback drafted last year. They had a wide receiver drafted last year. But they're a team that does get transfers, does get recruits, and can reload. I'll tell you what, Jackson State, I don't care if you played at an SEC stadium, this likely will be the loudest game they've ever played inside the Fargo Dome. Fargo Dome holds like 22,000 people. It will be a raucous crowd. I am so looking forward to watching at least the first half of this game. I agree with you. I'm not going to get to the window by any means, but North Dakota State is the only way I can go in this game, especially now, you know, with a 3.5 or 4 point line move from when it reached double digits.
Ross, take this one home, and then we'll wrap up with our best bets for the show here.
Well, this is my best bet, best
Okay.
free pick, I should say. My best bet is up for sale right now, but I'll just get right into it, Brian. As far as my best bet goes, and it's in this game, Jacksonville State. Very underrated program, guys. You look at this is their 4th year playing at the FBS level. They've won 9 games in each of the last 3 seasons. They played for the Conference USA title 2 times. They went 1-1 in those games. It's a very underrated group of 6 program. And Jacksonville State, by the way, since they became an FBS program, 9-6 straight up and 10-5 against the spread is a dog of 7.5 or less. Last year's season opener, they played at Central Florida, a Big 12 team, as a 20.5 point dog. They took them right down to the wire, losing that game 17-10. And North Dakota State, it's a team that not a lot of FBS teams wanted to schedule after the success they had against them. But that was at the FCS level. They dominated at that level. As Brian just alluded to, last year they got upset, were undefeated, but they still have won 10 of the last 15 FCS national titles. The thing about reloading for a team transitioning for FBS play, reloading takes on a whole different meaning when you're going from FCS to FBS. They have very little returning production, but I do think that they'll contend in the Mountain West Conference. I just, again, there's a reason why this has come down from 10 to 6.5. Of course, you lose betting value when you cross 7, but having said that, I still have a small lean here on Jacksonville State plus the 6.5 at North Dakota State.
All right. That is one of the best bets we have. That is Ross's best bet for the show. Go get his best bet at his page at WagerTalk.com, his top play. And don't forget about the subscriptions he laid out just a few minutes ago. I'll throw mine out next. It's the early game. I'm going to do it. At 2 o'clock, may I look dumb doing this? Sure. But you know what? We always live dangerously. I always put my hand over the stove, Ross. I always put my hand in the cookie jar. We're going with North Carolina plus the points. Bill Belichick's not going to get embarrassed in back-to-back season openers, is he? I'll take the points with the Tar Heels. Again, it's so funny to see, look at these teams relative to where they were last year. I think North Carolina can at least stay within the number. Do I think they'll pull an outright upset? No, but it's a lot of points you're giving me. Give me the Tar Heels and Belichick. Ralph, wrap us up here with our first show parlay of the year.
Well, as I said, I put in a free pay for our parlay on Florida State over the total. I do want to mention as well, though, I have an actual client play. Make sure you check it out on the ACC game. I gave it out for free.
All right, there we have it. We hit all 8 games. That was easy in 45 minutes. We'll be here every week, 10 a.m. Eastern, right before last call, in between total bases and last call. What a Saturday morning lineup it is here now on WagerTalk TV. And I have a best bet for week 0. Again, you can find it on my page, wt.buzz/BP, as we look to continue what has been a very profitable summer overall. Thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Again, smash that like button. Make sure you've clicked subscribe. We do appreciate your support. And we look forward to your comments each and every week here on The Blitz. For Ross Benjamin, for Ralph Michaels, I'm Bryan Power. And until next time, let's cash some tickets.